There's a few rules I kind of want to, or like also just in general for debate nights and stuff. The first one is take a stance. Each debater has the burden of an affirmative position. Is it not enough to tear down your opponent, as you also have to build something in its place? Moderators will provide topics that have clear stances that avoid letting one side fight from the status quo. Fight a point. Debaters will avoid talking past each other, instead communicating back and forth until they hit a point of disagreement. To the best of their ability, they will try to resolve that disagreement before moving on to another. And 3, make a rival. Debaters will approach each other as rivals rather than enemies, with the goal to sharpen each other's skill to win rather than destroying the other. I think these are some good ground rules I kind of want to implement in general to debate nights, but yeah.
Yes, good faith and good faith. Always good faith.
True. First topic for debate night will be here, I'm going to post it in side chat.
Okay.
There we go. Should political movements prioritize appearing on any platform that reaches a centrist audience, regardless of the platform's reputation or alignment? It's a spicy one, coming straight from the Discord. For this one, what are your thoughts on it, Sophie?
This is the tricky one because I can see how both sides can feel about this one. Just to let's throw a name out there. Let's throw out somebody like let's say Joe Rogan, for instance. Let's say that does it behoove us to go on somebody's uh chat like that? And let me see. Somebody says they can't hear. A little bit better.
I think it's just them. Unless other people can maybe try leaving and rejoining, that would probably help. But
All right.
yeah, right now we're
Yeah.
discussing. We'll discuss the topic a little bit. If anyone has an opinion on this, they can raise their hand, and we'll drag them up. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah. Continuing your thought, you think you can see both sides?
Yeah, absolutely can see both sides. I kind of feel like, okay, if we were to go on a show that is obviously more on the right, but it does have a huge followership, I think there's an amount of bravery to that. I think you have to do it in the right way where you're actually trying to um affect some sort of a stance or where you're not really going in on the defensive. And that's pretty cool. Hey,
Okay.
Ryan. But yeah,
Yeah, what's up, Pat?
I'll let you jump in, Ryan. I'm very curious to know what you think because I can see both sides.
All right. And I can turn share screen on for this, or how does that work for presentation?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm presenting the affirmative case for why we must have the liberal armadas flood the zone on every centrist show. No matter how Trumpian, no matter how lost we think they are, we must always appear. We must always be ready to hear their call when Joe Rogan tweets out, "Are there any leftists who I can bring on the show?" Okay, there were some detractors on this, but I will just quickly set the context, and then I think there's like 2 big bullet points for why we should be doing this. The context is that we've lost the media war. We are living in a post-Terminator apocalypse world, okay? And we're scrounging between little human fortifications and the hordes of the evil, tyrannical doomsday people are out there. So this is just a quick graph that I like to reference. I use this when I'm telling Democrats and staffers about the problem, and it very quickly communicates how utterly destroyed we've been in this situation, regardless of how you think we've gotten there. The alternative proposal, well, let me start here, is that we need to fix this, right? When I say we, I mean Democrats generally. I've talked to congresspeople, to a secretary, to people at the DNC, and a very common question I ask is who is responsible for this problem and who is responsible for solving it among the Democrats, okay? The answer I always get is, well, Democrats are a bunch of little coalitions and they're built around personalities, they're built around issues, and there's no single unit that's really doing it. Well, we have a Twitter account, well, we have 6 teenagers on Twitter. Well, we have 6 teenagers on Twitter, but we're not putting the 6 teenagers up, okay? The people who are running the Congress Twitter account are not the people who are responsible for solving this problem. So if the Democrats don't have any ideas, I'm taking responsibility. Okay, it's going to be us. It's going to be the people in this call right now. It's going to be DGG, and it's going to be Digital Ground Game more generally, as well as our friends and allies across the board. Okay, we are responsible. So there's two paths now that we can take to solve this. Path number one is build up our own shows to the size and scale of Joe Rogan. Okay, path number two is to have a presence on the audience that exists. I am all for 100%. We should be building up our own shows. Okay, we should have started it 10 years ago to build shows of these scales. Whatever happened, happened. I don't know how we got here. I'm sure we can figure it out and we can grow today. But where we're at right now is we're at a world where I think we're like 10 times outnumbered. The top 5 podcasts are Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan. It's where I think like 10 down, you get Ezra Klein, who speaks only to the most wonkish wonks. So we need to appear in these environments, and I'll end with a quick story, is that my dad believed that Hunter Biden was a evil, lunatic, lizard person, not a lizard person, but my cousin believed lizard person, my dad believed probably a grifter and evil and corrupt. Hunter Biden appears on Andrew Callahan's show, and people who thought he was a lizard is like, oh wait, actually he's just a crackhead. And people who thought he was a somewhat shady kind of political operator thought, oh wait, this is just like a normal cool dude who likes women. I like women, and who likes crack. I have friends who like crack, right? And he had a really good human experience. It's very hard to imagine a human being whose face you see and who you hear speak to the things that they care about that are important to them, that motivate them, and to think, oh, that's a lizard person, okay? If we're living in a society where, I hate to break the news if this is news to you guys, maybe 5-10% of people literally, actually, sincerely, probably believe Hillary Clinton is some lizard person adjacent creature, right? We failed pretty horribly. All we need to do, the first step, the next step, is getting Democrats in front of cameras. If centrist and quote unquote right people and Democrats, if we see our candidates, right, then it's much easier to humanize them. It's much easier to empathize with them. It's much easier to understand them. And you cannot believe that they are lizard people who are trying to destroy the country if you hear them speak. All right, that is the end of my epic intro. He does.
Okay.
Thank you, Blair, in the comments.
Yeah, I'll give some. I kind of want to push this principle and stuff, just like with the topic of the question, and then I'll throw it over to Ulysses. It says, regardless of the platform's reputation, let's say there's like a dark jubilee, like evil jubilee or some shit, where they bring on like leftists or any type of person, and basically they just like shit on them and don't even like let them get a word in or whatever the fuck. Would you say like even with that reputation, we should still try?
So that's a good point, specifically on the hyper adversarial nature, not trying to get a word in where you show up to this platform and you know that they're going to try to dumpster on you.
Yeah,
okay, that's a
basically.
good point. You should be equipped to come on these platforms, and you should be equipped to have the conversation. Joe Rogan is an easy mode platform because I've never seen.
I'm not talking about Joe Rogan right now. I'm thinking
I'm aware.
The principle of what you're saying.
I'm separating these two out. I'm saying Joe Rogan is an easy one because to contrast what you're saying, where anyone can go. Because I've never seen a clip where Joe Rogan like pounds the hammer on someone. He might be skeptical, he might clearly disagree, but he's never going to like hammer in and use epic dog. Like he usually just asks questions, right? He usually just asks questions, if you know what I mean. But if for a hyper adversarial platform, you should have someone who's comfortable in that environment, right? Someone more like Steven than Kamala Harris, for sure. And just a quick side note is everyone should be working on their skills of presenting themselves in these environments in an authentic way, which is something that Democrats have struggled to do, but kind of a separate question, yeah.
Yeah, but like dark jubilee. That's what I'm saying. Evil jubilee. Think of it. Or like
Yeah. No, I with that caveat, you should generally go on unless you think you're going to get blown out. Steven should always go on everything. Kamala Harris should probably not go on things where they're going to try to catch her in epic things where she's being inauthentic. But Gavin Newsom, I think, would probably be someone that, it's hard to imagine exactly what you're imagining. But if it's a show that 20 million Americans are watching, Gavin Newsom should probably show up. It'll be easier. Yeah.
I'd say like maybe like the whatever podcast or the one with fuck, I can't think of it. Fresh and Fit or some shit where it's like you're just like surrounded by a bunch of people that like disagree with you and will just like talk over you. Oh, they also do this with the fucking one beanie guy that took money from Russia. I can't think of his Tim Pool, where it's like they'll have like like one leftist person and like 5 fucking rightoids that are all centrist, quote unquote, and they'll all just like talk over him and be like, no, everything you're saying is wrong, and then like you get like one fact check and they're just like
retro, real quick. I think we're in the wrong place. Like I'm getting word that we're actually supposed to be streaming to the main DGG stage.
Oh, okay.
You guys
We can
wanna
run over.
hey, friends. Let's take
Friends
like
of the
30
pod.
seconds. I'm gonna like literally
True, true.
let's all jump over
Do we
to
have a
the main
link?
DGG. Yeah, let me throw it in there and then I'll start it up over there. We'll just pick up from
Yeah, sounds good.
here.
I'll throw it over to Ulysses to
All right, and
see
I'll
where
put the link
he
in.
takes us
Sorry
to.
about that, y'all. I was like, oh shit.
No, you're
Wait.
fine. You're fine.
A few moments later.
What's your take on this, Ulysses?
Generally, I'd say yes, but only to like a specific extent of like, you might have people out there that like I think you post Ryan. There's like those malicious actors that are like pawing as centrist, but they're not actually centrist. They're just like they're wearing the aesthetic
Right.
Yeah.
of such thing. But generally speaking, there has to be when
Centrist
it comes to
mimics.
politicians. Yes, true, based. When it comes to um, the like politicians themselves, they should stick with like the mainstream of like digital spaces, just because those appear more legitimate. You have bigger audience capture capability there, and you also then will be able to just get your name out to like younger folk out there, because not a lot of people are like watching like Hutch or IRI or any of those people versus like maybe like Hassan or Destiny or um, like Joe Rogan, people who actually are a lot more influential in the space. So
Sorry,
yeah,
you're saying you're saying you wouldn't advise they go on Hutch or IRI or something like that?
I mean, I'd be fine with it, but at that point you're appealing to like what, like 1,000 people. Like you might be able to get
Well,
like more people come into that space, but you're like I'm looking for max clarity, max vision there versus anything else, if that makes sense.
one of the reasons that right wingers have built up and completely consumed the media ecosystem is because from 2016, people like Ben Shapiro, people like Charlie Kirk came down from institutional heaven and started blessing very small creators and very small channels with institutional resources, institutional networking, institutional access, and helped nurture and cultivate and grow those channels for a very long time. And built up a culture where you would show up to all the centrist platforms. So right wing platforms got bolstered, centrist platforms got shifted right, and left wing platforms withered on the vine. IRI and Hutch are the perfect people for Democrats to go into if they're interested in the project of building up the new media ecosystem. Right.
It'd be fine if they're not candidates. Like if they're actually like presidential, like they're the president, or people who are actually because being a candidate is one thing, but actually becoming the president and has a lot more sway to a lot more people. So I'd say like, yeah, if you want to go on those places, fine, that's cool, just to like grow those audiences. But I'm looking for like, I want like the president to be able to like go on to those places, or like representatives like Ro Khanna or Thomas Massey or other people who are just like interested in talking about their like libertarian perspectives, but they happen to be on like a liberal side or something that'll help them grow. I'm like candidates are cool, but I want them like candidates, they need to focus on their races. And sadly with like the president, they have to appeal to those swing voters that for the last two elections have literally determined whether or not they literally became president or not.
Well, okay, I just want to quickly add a note in here on the swing voter thing is that fighting for 51% of the country and conceding 49% of it is a good way to end up in a situation where you have to fight really, really, really hard for that 1% swing voter. But if you're able to skim a small minority, which I know people are like, oh no, it's impossible. You only need 1%. That's what we're talking about, is like very small margins. I think it's worth doing an appearance that gets you 20 million views and you might pick up a couple fans. But we're circling drain a little bit on this one. Is there a strong disagreeer, Retro, or how does the format usually work for these?
Oh yeah, this is an open debate topic.
Okay,
If anyone
understood.
has a disagreement and wants to come up in chat, we'll pull you up, and we'll keep it maybe like 6 people max, but and we'll cycle people out depending on how they feel. I don't think I can add people up. Okay, never mind. I can't do that.
Sorry about that.
Okay,
Glad
okay.
we're actually having topics other than talking about Unix.
Okay, well,
True.
we can. That's gonna be like, oh god, what do they do for Disney? Like the Vault or some shit? It's like those are the classics. Okay, we'll come back to that in like 3 months.
Don't whoa me, since you're the one who added the topic.
Hey,
I'll
you're the one that started it. Okay, you're the one that said it first.
As a meme,
That was
you then
amazing.
created the topic.
It was wonderful. Well, if
True,
I
true,
may
true.
Go off,
offer
King.
perhaps like a contrarian sort of
Wait, hold one
perspective.
second. Is there a way we can add people?
Yeah.
Because there are 2 people that do have their hands raised that might
You have
actually
to
disagree
feel
with the
jack
topic.
there.
No, I think we
Because
just
I
have to.
cannot
put Darko to work. Let's
Jack,
see.
can
Can you
you
cycle
add
some folks in and out? Well, or do you want to cycle people out, or just
their
add the folks who have their hands raised?
add the people right now?
Yeah, he's the mod, bro. Because he's the mod. He's the one that can bring people
Yeah.
up, I guess.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Sorry,
All
we're
right,
Is
gonna
what's
that
your
the
put you
dude
take?
to
that
work.
is Jack Darker the one who was talking about Lyme disease earlier with Destiny stream, or am I thinking of somebody else?
I wasn't
I
watching
don't know.
earlier stream today.
Yeah, I
It
wasn't
might,
But
it
watching.
might
what's
have
your
been
take?
somebody else.
Traceless.
So you guys are associated with Destiny, or like I don't know, like how long have you guys been like part of this this Discord group, or is this new?
I've
Is this
been
like a
part
new
of it for
movement?
probably like the past like year or so. This
Okay.
digital ground game and stuff. So it's like a political action wing of the Destiny orbit. I don't fucking know.
And your intentions like to bring more awareness of like liberalism to other people, like for people to get politically involved, or what's like the intention with these
Like the
groups?
Are you
intention, I guess,
familiar
is
with?
like oh, go
You're
ahead.
saying for digital ground game across the board, or just for the specific debate night?
Like in general, I guess. Like, are you
Are you
guys trying to
familiar
just
with
get
the?
people politically involved?
Are you familiar with the canvassing programs that Destiny has traditionally participated with and ran?
All I know about is the Unfuck America Tories part of. I don't really know the
Uh,
other stuff.
The super quick TLDR on digital ground game is that Destiny's community has knocked around 450,000 doors
Okay.
at around $3 per door. So we're like one of the most cost-effective canvassing programs, and we're hoping to scale that up and continue. And it's also a pipeline for DGGers to become active in official like candidate office. And then, like as a side project, we're trying to fix the new media stuff. So we booked the Secretary Cardona interview, and we're trying to um, do all that stuff, spread awareness for liberalism however we can. But those are kind of the core pillars of the work that we do, and it's a central hub for anyone who's trying to get involved in politically DGG. I'll never hesitate to do a commercial, okay? Thank you for bringing it up. I'll slide your 20 in the
link
mail.
in the chat. Link in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that there. So like, I'm not really somebody that's like a poser or a disagreeer, I guess. I mean, I do agree with what you guys are, trying to do. I mean, it's like spreading like the idealism with the liberalism to other people, get people more politically involved with stuff. I think that is important. Um, but yeah, I was just kind of curious what the intentions were with this. So like, I understand better because I watch Destiny streams, but I don't like watch the like subdivision streams like these ones, for example, on the Discord. So this is kind of like all new to me.
Yeah, so kind of like one of the
Subdivision.
things
I
we're
like
doing
that.
right now is one of the things we kind of do is we're trying to get people out canvas and phone bank and stuff. So like I'm trying to get things tested with Wisconsin right now because in about 3 days, less than 3 days actually, because I think it polls end at 8 p.m. Central Standard. We're going to have an election for another Supreme Court pick in Wisconsin. If we recall back in 2025, we had something under Susan Crawford where we got her elected into the Wisconsin Supreme Court over Brad Schimmel, which basically catapulted us into hopium times 10 into like, and now we're hoping to do this again. So if anybody like was interested whatsoever, like I get people in DGG. I've had myself. I've had directors such as Kai, who is our welcoming director, who literally is like leading phone banking for Wisconsin right now to get like Democrats out to get the newest candidate, who is Chris Taylor, out there. So like this is like something that we're actively doing like right now. The next phone banking is going to be Monday and Tuesday because nobody wants to do shit on Easter. So if like this is something like I know Ryan's like talking about like bigger, more like broader project plans, but this is something I'm trying to like show you as something we're doing like right now. Stuff that is really mainstream, something in the now that gets us all horny to get a liberal out there. So
Okay.
So like, can I have I don't know if I'm allowed to suggest anything or not, but
But of
are you
course.
guys also like looking at trying to get other people involved in what I would recommend? Like for example, in my state, I'm in the Northeast in PA, and it's kind of blue in some areas, but there's like I live in like one of the probably what would be considered a red bias area. Is there any interest in getting people involved in like the smaller cities collectively that also
Yeah, we have regional
that are red?
squads. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the way that it works is that you join the server.
Wait, hold on, Ryan. I mean,
Yeah.
a little bit back on topic. Do you have
I know.
any
I'm getting. I'm
opinion on?
just a 2-second answer to the question. We put you in a regional server. It groups you and people in your local area, and then I literally just got back from a New York City meetup today. So yes, we do that. Everyone should join the server. All questions can be answered there. All right, Rachel, you can go now.
But yeah, do you have any
Thank you.
opinion on the debate topic of should political movements prioritize appearing on centrist places?
Centrist.
Oh, okay. So you're talking about like people that are so centrist. Okay, so people in the middle, they're kind of like lean both ways, right? Is that so? Like, do you have any examples of like people you're
Joe
referring to with that?
Rogan,
Like
Tim Pool,
trigonometry.
yeah, that.
I mean, I feel like Pohl's kind of less centrist. He's kind of is more right leaning, isn't he?
Most of these
That's
guys, when we say centrist,
kind
we
of
use
the
centrist
point.
quotation
Yeah,
marks because 90%
exactly.
of them, if you see, I have the infographic screen shared. 90% of these quote unquote centrist guys are like secret maggots. So
Okay, so the intention
yeah.
is kind of like countering these guys that are basically full of shit and pretending to be unbiased when they actually are biased, right?
Let me
Is
give you a
that my understanding
concrete.
correctly?
Let me give you a concrete story that I like to use when I'm talking about this. Is my family? I had a family member who thought that Democrats were literal, actual lizards, right? Like real life lizard people, conspiracy theorist guy. And I have my dad thought that Hunter Biden was just like a general, unscrupulous, scandalous kind of guy. And he did the Andrew Callahan podcast. And it's impossible to sit there for 3 hours and listen to Hunter Biden talking, which was a very entertaining conversation, so it got a lot of views, and think, oh, that's a lizard person. He's a very human, very understandable, very authentic guy on camera. So it shifts from lizard person to crackhead for the conspiracy theorist, and it shifts from crackhead to very intelligent young Democrat who got misaligned by a actual centrist, my boomer ass dad who voted MAGA 3 times, right? So these appearances I feel like are unbelievably helpful, and Democrats are invisible on new media, and I'm advocating that they appear, they flood the zone and show up on any show they can with like 10 million plus views. Is the kind of the goal. Some people are saying we should avoid these right-wing shows to avoid bolstering them and instead focus on growing our own thing, which I argue would take time. That's kind of the short of the debate.
I mean, I think it's okay to confront these people, like absolutely, because I don't think they completely stand for what they say. They kind of just like ride with whatever's popular on like with their
Sure.
group.
Mhm.
Whereas like I feel like with not with I don't want to say us because we all have probably
Or
differentiating views on
biases and
certain
stuff.
things, right?
Yeah.
But we at least I would have to imagine actually can back up what we stand for instead of just following along I would say like the herd, which is like kind of like how we describe MAGA is like a herd of sheep that just
Yeah.
follow whatever they're told.
Do we want to get Tribot's take?
Yeah. I'll throw it over to Trib.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
It's a
Well
little
enough, a little
noisy, but yeah,
static.
you're right.
Okay,
Yeah, go
that's
for
the
it.
best we're gonna get right now, as long as it's not
Okay.
wind tunnel mode.
That's good.
So I think the danger of going on these platforms is that the opposing side can do it too, and if the platform secretly has a right-wing bias, then they can frame that to the advantage of the person we're going against, right? So let's say a liberal candidate goes on Rogan, and then they make their pitch, people say they like them, and then the next week he has on their Republican opponent who somehow who manages to look way better, and Rogan softballs it and doesn't challenge them, and basically does a bunch of spin for them to make it seem like, yeah, sure, we humanize the Democrat, but we also
Okay.
but the Republicans are even better.
But in my mind, and let me know what you think about this. In my mind, the problem is that right now, what's actually happening in real life is similar to what you're saying, where the Republican opponent is coming on and trashing the Democrat and doing spin to help win the race. But the Democrat that they're spinning is the lizard person. Like, oh, this guy's trying to put trans juice in the water, right? Like the characterization that you can do of someone who never ever appears in front of the camera, who you never see, who you never hear from, is much easier than having to contend with an actual human being who shows up authentically and talks about what's motivating them, what they care about, what's important to them, right? I feel like I would much rather have the world where they both go up and then it's right wing biased versus the world where it's not the case. All right, thank you, Jack, by the way, who noted that my screen share is fucked up. All right.
Right. I think that's ideal, but I think so. The specific reference case I have here is the Flint Dibble interview, which was a real archaeologist going on to challenge pseudo-archaeology on Joe Rogan, and basically, I think Rogan, I think it really worked. I think it really worked that Dibble went on there and actually changed people's minds, and it freaks Joe the fuck out because he immediately had Graham on 6 more times to smear Dibble as a liar. He had like a bunch of of Graham Hancock's friends on to smear Dibble as a liar.
Oh,
And
fingerprints
ultimately, I
of the
think it was a win
gods
for Dibble.
guy.
No, I mean because that was oh yes, he's fingerprints of the gods, right? Chariots of the gods is Von Daniken, but yeah, it's the fingerprints of the gods guy.
Wait, sorry, short circuit this. It sounds like you're describing a story where Joe Rogan is spreading like crazy conspiracy theory stuff. An expert comes on and challenges that, and then Joe Rogan has to put a lot of effort into moving the narrative back to where he wants it to be, as opposed to spawning in new conspiracy theories. Isn't this a win?
Right.
Isn't this a situation where we've won? What is the bad thing here?
So the bad thing is that I think that he's learned his lesson and he's not going to do it again. So trying to like tailor our messaging to not offend him isn't going to work because our very existence offends him at this point. Like he's not willing to risk that kind of mess up again where he has to play cover up. He's just going to platform, right-wing people and then pretend that nobody would ever go on.
Like Kamala
pretend
Harris.
that the Democrats wouldn't go on. Like the Democrats don't want to debate. And then, the Democrats are like, yes, we do. Come, let us on. And you just never hear from him. He just ghosts you or blocks you, right? So he can keep saying that all he wants. And so yes, we should reach out to them, but then we should document that we've reached out and he's just fucking ghosted us, right?
Yeah,
and I think
the topic in my mind, what I'm arguing for is when we have the opportunity, we should go on and we should deliberately work to construct the opportunity. It's hard for me to go, we're not going to go through every single different right-wing platform and talk about the spectrum of probabilities of which ones are more likely and which ones are less likely. I would just say we want, in general, to be, and I assume we agree on this, to be doing what we can to get on. If Joe Rogan's internal percentage of letting Democrats on is 5% or 95%, we can figure that out tactically, but I don't think it speaks to the conversation. And I obviously I agree with you. We shouldn't be putting baby gloves on, right? Like, there's a difference between, in my mind, because you might be referencing a specific example that came up in the politics community Discord that I'll just...
Yeah, I don't know how much you want to get into that, but I that is kind of what I'm thinking about.
I'll do a general case. Is like, in general, there's a difference between, Joe Rogan puts out and says, hey, I want leftists on, and saying, no, you piece of shit, you don't, versus, hey, I want leftists on, and saying, you need to take leftists on and you need to take Destiny on. Otherwise, you're proving to everyone that this is true. Those two statements, in my mind, are universes apart, because one of them is precluding the conversation from ever happening. If you come in with that energy, it's just going to be a no, versus a challenge and something that it's Schrodinger's insult is that the insult is only true if he doesn't take you on. That actually incentivizes him to bring you on. So that, I feel like, would be an example of the messaging that I would advocate for.
Right. I mean, I think in this case, it's an example of reverse psychology. I think Joe is just fundamentally a contrarian in certain circumstances, and telling him he won't do something is the best way to get him to do it. But, that's litigating a very specific case.
Yeah, we don't need to get too much into more weeds. Yeah. I mean, do we agree on the general point that we should actively...
Oh, yes, I definitely agree that if he did invite Destiny on Rogan, Destiny should definitely go on Rogan.
Or even before we invite him, we should, especially us, right? Is we work closely with Destiny. We represent him to some extent on the public square. We should take steps to try to get Destiny on, and then we can talk about what those steps are. We can talk about the best way to do it. But that is something that would be good for us to do in general. Is that something we agree on?
I strongly agree.
Can we dig into that? Can we dig into that a little bit? Honestly, I think the bigger question seems to be then, how far are we willing to step away from our values, if you will, in order to become more attractive to these sorts of people, like the Konstantin Kissins, like the Joe Rogans, Andrew Wilson.
We don't take a step away from our valuals. We shouldn't.
Okay. I got this.
Yeah.
Ryan, do you think it's more likely that Destiny gets on, or someone from our org, or someone like us, I guess?
On Joe Rogan?
Yeah,
I think Destiny would have the best odds because of his popularity, to be honest with you. Because they value that, because they know if they bring in somebody like Destiny, they're going to get clicks.
Yeah.
But I guess the question is, how far do you make Destiny more appealing to
Well, he's not talking about Destiny right now. He's talking about us. That the tweet that we made towards Joe Rogan was hostile, and so it's less likely that we're going to even get onto the show. And I'm asking in the first place, it seems like Destiny has a way higher chance of even getting on Joe Rogan in the first place.
Nobody's advocating. We're not.
It doesn't really seem like it makes that much of a difference to for us, for how we talk to Joe Rogan, because I don't think we have a way less chance than Destiny would ever get onto his show.
This is
Yeah.
this is we're not getting on Joe Rogan. The goal would be to get liberal creators onto Joe Rogan for our org specifically. That we're not getting on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, that's yeah. That was the point I was
So,
making.
but it sounded like the point you were making was contesting against the idea of us trying to get on, which we would never, which we would.
I think
saying
Richard's
that
point
the
was
way that
that
you
like
phrased it of being overtly hostile versus trying to make this like sort of plug that would, the Schrodinger's joke where
I mean,
everyone lands if they don't do it.
We don't need to speak about what we specifically did. If you look on that tweet for hey, I'm looking for liberals, it might be my algorithm is cooked because I'm DGG, but every single comment under that tweet was either Destiny or Gavin Newsom, and it was a lot of familiar faces. It was Thinking Monk, it was Wick, it was a lot of friends or friends of the stream, right? And when you see all that, if the energy in every single one of those, for example, I like Wix was just, hey, you should have Destiny on. If the energy on all that is constructive and useful and like, hey, I think Destiny would be a great debate partner. Hey, I think Destiny would be great on your show. Hey, I think Destiny could represent the left really well. Those comments, I think, have like a 90% chance. If he has 20 of those down the list, no, maybe not 90%, maybe like 50%. That we could get Joe Rogan on. If it's flood the zone with all of those kind of comments, if it's flood the zone with you're an evil, vile, disgusting piece of shit for not having Destiny on, right? I'm just putting it to an extreme. The chance goes to 0, right? Whatever the chance is, whether it's 5% or 50%, it goes to 0 if every single comment is coming in with hyper hostility, because that is the image that's been built up of Destiny, and that's not going to be a useful way of presenting, right? So you can be critical in those comments, but you can't shut down the idea of having the conversation. You can't be like super hyper, aggressive, right?
Okay, and then Kenneth, am I saying that right? I have no idea. Or did you come up to speak, or are you just a moderator?
Yeah, I just came up to ask a question of Ryan. It seems like he's advocating for a large set of individuals should be on these sorts of shows. Exactly who are we speaking about? Are we just speaking about Destiny at this point?
Anyone with the general idea would be anyone with a D next to their name, like Democrat, like any Democrat should be in front of cameras more. Like I don't know how to yeah. So any Democrat, and then that is experts, officials, creators, whoever it is. In our specific line of work, in our field, what we do, it's going to be creators. So when we get into specifics, we'll shift towards that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sort of notion makes me a little nervous, right? I mean, there's got to be some Democrats, and maybe me and you don't align like completely ideologically, but there's going to be some Democrats out there that both of us would probably agree they shouldn't be on these sort of shows. Their voice shouldn't be heard as much by a large set of people as to not astray centrists.
Like
You're saying like Hassan or something, or like something like that. Or...
Sure, we could point towards Hassan.
What's the one senator? Is it a senator or congressperson? Fuck, I can't think of his name. Like,
so I said Fetterman. Hassan and Fetterman are two very different, different angles. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Hassan and what about Fetterman?
1 second. A little housekeeping. That was our first 15 minutes. If we could cycle out some of these people, keep on Keith and Ryan.
Okay. Do you want me to end on this point, Retro, and I'll cycle it through, or do you want me to stay up? Or
no, I said keep you because it feels like
Oh, okay. I understand. Yeah, I did propose the topic, so I
yes, you did. You did.
Okay, so I will go into the two topics. Okay, Hassan's not in a tent. I'm not making prescription for Hassan. When I say we should be on cameras more, I'm talking about us and our allies. Okay, Fetterman would be a good example of someone who's on the extreme end of our tent. And fuck it, let's ride. Like, I would be happy to have Joe Manchin, Fetterman. There's a big gap between those two. Or what's a good like left-wing example? If AOC, but even more left-wing and even crazier. Let's have her on, right? We need more Democrats who are represented, because the way that it works, I'll just pin it on this, is the algorithm will show people to their base. The algorithm will find your base for you as long as you have your ideas and your passions and you go on and you represent those and you put up shorts and shit. The algorithm will help you find who needs to see it, right? You can also be used to attack, but we don't exist right now, so we need more faces up.
Wait, did you say Fetterman was actually left or not? I just I'm in his state, so that's kind of like my representative.
Fake left.
Unfortunately,
I would put him more schizo than left or right. He defies the spectrum, but traditionally people see him as like more right wing Democrat these days.
Yeah, well, he's been voting. He's been voting in the best interests of the right wing party.
Yes.
Yes, so that's
what I was referencing.
I'm pretty sure he's gonna end up trying to change parties soon. Is what he's gonna end up doing. Like it won't surprise me. It would not surprise me. But like, that's kind of a big problem. Also in our political sphere with like people that are actually in power.
I'll step down, but
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, like that seems like the central critique, at least this claim so far. be something like that. There doesn't seem like a robust criteria to exclude these sorts of people. And maybe if you could like lay out what that robust criteria would be, I'd
Okay,
be like on board, you know?
I'm gonna actually shift my stance to an even firmer one. Is that I don't want Democrats to be wheedling and weaseling. Oh, geez, who's supposed to go up? Who's not supposed to go up? This is a big problem that liberals have. Is that they think too much. Is that we need prescriptively across the entire Democrat Party. Everyone should just fucking go up, and we'll figure it out afterwards. And that would be a huge next step. And then we can correct if too many people go up or bad representatives go up. But right now, there's a huge problem of people just like sorry, go.
The risk of like the downstream effects of just everybody stepping up, I don't think are ones that I would be willing to accept at this time, given the current political discourse. But I mean, if that's a risk you're willing to take,
what do you feel
I
that
guess-
those risks are? Because my feeling is the biggest risk we have is that if we do not,
alienating like potential voters.
Okay, yeah.
But-
Ryan, you can give your more robust criteria and
Okay.
or firmer stance and stuff, and then I'll throw it over to Zig. Oh,
okay,
how,
yeah,
much
go,
was, how much was I saying before? Like my voice apparently spazzed out and kicked me. 'Cause-
I don't remember at this point.
Yeah,
I'm just throwing it over to Ryan.
yeah, we're just going back and forth. Don't worry about it. Let it
Yeah.
flow.
Okay.
Sorry, Ken, what was your most recent point? I was about to respond. And then we're gonna go to Zig.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So once again, you could give your robust criteria. I think you should back away from something like just throw everybody with the D up.
Anyone who's a Democrat, yeah.
No, yeah. This is what I was gonna say. Is like the risk is that they don't represent us well, or they're used in attack ads, right? Like right now, the average voter, like my feeling is they think that Democrats are a group of people who are trying to put trans juice in the water. Is like policy number one. Policy number two is probably delete the entire Federal Reserve and send all of it in gold bars to Ukraine. Like the ideas that they have about Democrats do not stand up to reality in any way, shape, or form. And I just think that having a media ecosystem where there's no Democrats, there's no representation at all, is the source of this problem, and it's really, really, really bad, and it needs to be fixed. And it's a bigger problem than the concern about Hassan being the next biggest guy. We can fight our next dragon when he comes up, but but right now this is where we're at. That's my last point, I guess, which I'm looping a little bit. Okay,
All right, Zig.
Can I please say
yeah, Zig, you go.
Go for it.
Okay. The thing is, though, I have a father that is a Democrat, and he's from Texas. So I've seeing from his lens and my lens is he still cares about me, even though that I'm schizophrenic, obviously. But at the same time, though, I'm very high functioning schizophrenic. Like my IQ is way too fucking high, and also I don't know this as a fact, but I think the reason why I have mania is because of
Wait. What's your stance on the topic? Sorry, this isn't to get into personal stuff.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I
fine.
I do that. But yeah, the Democrats. I believe we need to reach out to a lot of the Rogan sphere, and the thing is though is a lot of those people are still capable of becoming left wing. It's just that we have to like acknowledge some of the stuff that like Andrew Tate says, because he says some things that are off the wall, but there's some things he does say that actually makes a little bit of sense psychologically.
Well, that's kind of how they get you, right? Like they'll say something that makes a little bit of sense, like, men should really uh take care of their appearance because, people who look better tend to get more perks in life, which is probably true. But then they sneak in the reason that you're not getting anything now is because women are the devil, like they
Yeah,
do get you with
exactly.
that truth. So I mean, I honestly think the truths that they kind of ride in on with those things are tend to be so universal. Like anybody would believe those things. So I don't think it's necessarily um, needed to attribute those truths to somebody like Andrew Tate. I think we can all agree on certain things without having to have that point of agreement come from somebody like that. So I don't think it's really that important.
But what's interesting is Tristan Tate, his brother, actually is a lot more calmer than his brother Andrew,
So are you saying like
and he's
he's the
also
type of person that we should be reaching out to? I guess like I'm trying to bring it around to the current topic. Like if should we be trying to get on somebody like his podcast or what is your
yeah,
point?
Tristan. Okay, Tristan Tate. Okay, you know how Andrew Tate always babbles on about the fucking Matrix. He's like addicted to talking about the movie, right?
Okay.
So like he thinks that we live in a different reality than most people, and it's kind of it's actually borderline schizo, ironically enough.
Okay. It seems like you
So,
generally like agree with Ryan's like stance on this. Treebeard, do
mhm.
you have like a more what's your take on this topic?
Yeah, so maybe not directly addressing Ryan's point
Yeah,
of
go
like
for it.
these spheres of influences, but maybe parallel to them. These big spheres like let's take Joe Rogan as the example, as everyone's favorite example. He doesn't talk about politics a lot. He talks about, two brain cells rubbing together, pseudoscience and pseudo philosophy. And,
Yeah.
a lot of it's very exciting to the general public. So when he does bring on like a politician, it kind of uh it kind of gels kind of like in that exciting kind of a way. And I see all of the other blue bubbles that are here, and a lot of them are politics mixed with, like drama slop and stuff like that. So maybe it would be more of a focus for blue spaces to create a more interesting atmosphere around which we can also blend in politics.
But also, I got another point. Jordan Peterson, like due to his like understanding of how the
Let's
human brain works, right?
let's try to do one
Oh,
at a time, probably. Just
Yeah,
we
okay,
could address Treebeard's thing first.
all right.
But Treebeard, this is a common kind of thing that I get into with people is there's two strategies to reclaim the media ecosystem. Is we can grow the blue bubbles or we can infect the red bubbles and piggyback off them and use them a little bit. I think everyone here is going to unanimously agree that doing everything we can to nurture and build up the left wing and the Democrat media ecosystem is going to be a good thing to do. But
Right.
we're 10 years behind. It took Joe Rogan 10 years to get here. These guys have been putting deliberate effort with institutional backing since 2016. It's been a decade, and we are where we're at, and we're going to need to, there's always catch-up advantages. But I just think we need to be in front of more cameras. But if that makes sense to you.
So Ryan,
Yeah, I do not disagree. That's why I
Okay.
came in. I'm
Yeah.
I'm not here to like argue against you. Like I said, I just kind of a parallel thought. So that's what I had to say.
yeah, I think it's a good point. Ryan, so what about somebody who has a D next to their name that's going to go up on Rogan and throw that D away and put an R there? I think that's
Someone
like,
can
like
you
why I
reiterate?
left the left type people.
I don't understand. Sorry. Can you go on Joe Rogan and
Like,
throw up an R?
yeah, people who go on Joe Rogan to like Democrats who go on Joe Rogan to shit on the Democrats and basically act like be about to switch parties, right? Like can't like the why I left the left meme, right? Where they go up there and they're like, well, the left is blah blah blah. Like they feed the right wing narrative of the left while being on the left.
All of our enemies should dig a hole and crawl inside of it, right? Like I don't have prescriptions for people who are not aligned with us. I'm talking about things that we should do as liberals.
Well, some of these people have D's next to their names, so that was your original criteria.
Sure, if they think they're part of the team and they love the Democrat Party and they're trying their best to be good liberals and they just disagree on some policy stuff or they have some wacky ideas, let them go up. I'm not too worried about it. I don't want to be picky here. I don't want to give the impression, because the problem is that decent enough people are too cautious about things, and it's part of the reason that we've gotten where we are. And I can't have Democrat officials and experts sitting in an office being like, "Oh, geez, Louise, I'm not sure that I would be the best person ever to do this." We need to be prescriptive that everyone should go
So your
do it.
criteria isn't necessarily that they identify as a Democrat; it's more that they are generally supportive of the Democratic cause.
There's,
it would seem like.
I mean, you
right?
keep saying my criteria. It's like I don't know how to.
I think it would. Here, can I try to break
Yeah,
this
go
just
for
a
it.
little bit? So
Yeah.
I think the thing that is that Ryan's kind of focusing on is it's people who we care about, generally speaking, that we want to represent us and are going to stay with the party. Like the people who are about to like gestalt, do a 180 and march off into the Republican Party. Let those fuckers do it. Like we see what the result of these people are. Like Tulsi Gabbard and
Tulsi Gabbard's a traitor, like an absolute traitor.
yeah, and Tulsi Gabbard isn't seen very well, and she's about to get fucking fired from the administration. So, like, if those people are going to go off and become Republican, like, I personally, I would tell them not to, but at the same time, it's like, oh, the fuck, well, they're probably going to do it, and it might damage us micro, but macro in the long run, it's going to absolutely fuck them. So, I would think, like, the prescription should be Democrats should go on these platforms, like Democratic representatives should go on these platforms, as long as they're going to like represent the party, and if they're on the way out, kick dirt and fucking like that's it.
Let me. I think I have the solution to this issue. Is like we keep hearing like, oh, what's your criteria? When we do these debate night talks, there's DGGers who are staffers on Capitol Hill. There's DGGers who are staffers to Congress people. There's DGGers who are all around. When we have these conversations internal to DGG, the only people who are going to pick up these prescriptions are people who are pretty strongly aligned with us. And these conversations do leak into Capitol Hill, and they do leak into these congressional offices, and they will continue to do that, and that will continue to grow over the next 10 years. So the goal of the conversation is to shift our internal thoughts towards viciously getting more Democrats up. So the question of like, are you worried that Tulsi Gabbard or that some fake Democrat is going to hear your prescription and then go up more? It doesn't super I don't have my prescription for all of our opponents is turn off the camera and go in a closet and stop eating food, right? And see what happens, right? Like I don't have a I don't have a strong the prescription doesn't reach them, right? The prescription's for us, and for us we should be on camera.
Well, I want to read a comment from Trav that actually speaks to, I think, what both of you are saying. He says that just
Yeah.
advocate policies, don't pander to vibes like stop the billionaires and defund police. That messaging is just nothing burgers, basically. But the thing about that is that I don't think I've ever heard a Democrat really say those specific things. Like, we're not the ones out there saying defund the police. It's the right saying that we're saying it. We're not the ones out there really saying like, "Oh, trans for all the kids." It's the right saying that we're saying it. Like, yes, I know there's, especially with the progressives, there's a really big push for the stop billionaires and I get that there's a segment of us, but I think our prime, like, even if you look at what Kamala Harris's primary policy topics were, they had shit to do with the things that the right has somehow successfully made it seem like the left is actually saying. So I agree with Try that it can be dangerous to have a lot of, and Ulysses, that it can be a little bit dangerous to have people who claim to be Democrats come on and speak for, what liberals want in a very disingenuous way, to just reaffirm the same bullshit that the right believes, because that's just their messaging apparatus around what they're trying to say we're saying. But then I'm also on Ryan's side. Like, I think once you get into a conversation with somebody, like a genuine, authentic back and forth, you start to see, okay, they didn't mention trans not once. They didn't mention, whatever bullshit it was that they're trying to make us believe is so important to the left. They're really more concerned about, affordability and social programs and climate change and things that I think are real
1 minute.
to us. So yeah, just gonna say, like, I see both sides here. I really do.
All right. Got 40 seconds left. Anyone? Any final
I'll do a
thoughts?
quick rebuttal to the idea that we should advocate not to say things like stop the billionaires and defund the police. My very, very, very strong feeling is that the best media strategy for all Democrats everywhere is to go up and say what they believe, what they care about, what's important to them, what resonates with their base, and they will Darwinistically find their audience. AOC is never going to be the president. Maybe she will be one day, but right now she's not the representative for all America. Mamdani's not representing all America. Joe Manchin wasn't representing all America, but Joe Manchin was doing a really good job of representing his base in West Virginia and getting elected over and over and over, right? I don't want to tell AOC, hey, stop talking about the billionaires. I don't want to tell Bernie Sanders, stop talking about the billionaires, because that's working for them, good for them. They can do their thing in Vermont, they can do their thing in blue plus 20 districts, right?
All right.
I don't want to tell any Democrat anywhere not to message on something, because, just to tie this all together, there's way too many Democrats who are like, oh, geez, Louise, I'm not allowed to message on Minnesota. I'm not allowed to message on this. I'm not allowed to message on that. I have to focus on healthcare. Healthcare is the only thing we're allowed to message on this week because Chuck Schumer said so. This is a very common problem, and we don't want to have Democrats worrying about this. We just want them to say things that they care about.
All right. Throwing up the second topic in chat. I'm going to go around and give everyone their final thoughts.
All right, I'll step down. It's been super fun, Retro. I'll raise my hand if I want to come in for this topic.
Sounds good. All right. Ulysses. Final thoughts?
Yeah, no, sure. So I think generally speaking, when we're looking at like places that we want to go, we kind of like people keep talking about like, oh, what's the risk? What's the risk? At some point we have to say, fuck the goddamn risk, because everything will contain this risk, and we just have to we have to full send. So when it comes to like people like Joe Rogan, these people are going to exist. Like you have to be very transactional with these people. They're not going to they're just always going to be there. So it's better to engage with those folks unless they're like really fucking bad faith, just because that is like the atmosphere of politics, and that is how you get your fucking voice out there. There's no reason why we should be purity spiraling. There's no reason why we should be just saying fuck Joe Rogan, fuck everybody else. We're here. So yeah, just make sure that guys just be present, be ready. Like Democrats are always looking for folks to like get out the vote, get people out there. And like if you can get yourself on Joe Rogan, maybe that'll secure you like what we're looking at right now, which is Wisconsin's like judgeship. Maybe that will get you the presidency of the United States, like with Donald Trump getting to young folk. Always just get your voice out there, be heard, and that's all I got. So have fun.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Treebeard.
Yeah, I'll give my closing thoughts after this, but Treebeard, go for it. Final thoughts? Hello, Treebeard?
You're on mute, babe. There you go.
No final thoughts.
All right, all right.
I love Ryan.
Okay.
We all
Circle
love
them out.
Ryan.
Any final thoughts to you, Sophie, on that topic?
Well, Ulysses, you want to weigh in real quick? And then I'll...
I thought he already did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I already weighed in.
we were
Go
just
off,
waiting
Yeah.
for... Okay. Sorry. Well, then I guess my final thought is just that if we take this idea to the extreme of reaching out to the fake left of centerists or left centrists, or fake centrists, and let's say like we actually reached out to the right. I actually used to do that quite a bit. I had a call-in show, like a debate show, it's like conversational show, that I
Mhm.
streamed to Rumble, Locals. I was on True Social, Gab.
Dang,
I don't know
okay.
if anybody's ever heard of fucking Gab, my friends. It's the alt-rightest of the alt-right, okay? And so this is me with my show, Call a Liberal, going into the rightest of right-wing spaces. And the thing about it is, I feel like I think I made a dent with some people. I think because I'm generally pleasant. I'm kind of nice, like, so, I think that when people come onto my call-in show and they think they're going to get this angry black woman, I guess, I don't know. And then they just kind of get
Mhm.
like chill me. I think I did change some minds, if you will, but then there's this other side of it, right? Where I might have changed their mind about me, but I just turned, a liberal, a black person, a woman. I just turned, me into one of the good ones in that
Mhm.
marginalized group according to them. So there is something to be said for us going on these shows and representing ourselves well, and coming out at the end and maybe having changed, Joe Rogan or whoever's mind about, or even some of the viewers' minds about that particular person who's on that show. But I don't know if it's something that'll fully get them to suddenly go into the voting booth and vote for the D. So, I mean, just saying it to say, like, I think it does make a difference. I think I agree with Ryan 1,000%. We need to be flooding the zone with this. But
True.
it's just kind of sad
for the
that
D.
vote for the vote for the D. That I don't know.
Dude, last debate
we're-
topic. That is just very ironic.
we should
All right.
absolutely, if we keep it here, I'd love to see what a larger audience has to
True.
say about that. But anyway, just saying.
True.
Just saying.
All right.
What are your final thoughts?
Final
Roger?
thoughts. Yeah. Giving my final thoughts. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, if you have right now, I'm speaking to you, everyone right now. If
The
you have an
royal
opportunity to go
you.
on Joe Rogan and fucking be able to talk about fucking liberalism or some shit, fucking go for it. Okay, I'm totally on board for all that shit. Trying to think. Oh, but like, yeah, there are some like edge cases in certain terms of like, I know, fucking Tim Pool. I don't know. I can't think of the exact who was on, but it was just like this one liberal kid or where the fuck, and just like 4 fucking centrist, quote unquote, and they were all just like talking over him and just fucking shitting on him and stuff. God, it's crazy. Outside of that, that's all I have for that topic. But yeah, I'll circle over to the next topic of AI, using AI and shit. I'll
Or even
post in chat
generally,
again.
I'd like to understand everyone's thoughts on just using the right's own tactics, against them, or repurposing their tactics for our benefit.
Yeah. 1 second. Okay. I saw some people had some questions on this, and I'll
Okay.
go to the person that asked me for it. I'll keep it anonymous, but whatever the fuck. But since Trump poses such a unique threat to America, I think it would be interesting to talk about how aggressive/dirty Democrats should campaign in the midterms and in 2028. So I think a good question would be if people would be comfortable with Democrats en masse using AI bots on social media like the right did in 2024. So that's like the general topic or idea of it. Right.
I think
Any thoughts, Sophie?
some folks are thinking this is a little safe. It's a little weak. I don't know. I mean, I'm interested to
I think
maybe
that's pretty
again
far. Like, I mean,
expand the
going as
question
far as like
out.
the right did of like fake news and fucking they're eating the cats and dogs and whatever the fuck.
Well, I think it's generally sad, but I don't think that people on the right are bright. I don't think that they're super smart. And so I feel like it's tougher for leftists because we're in our heads too much. I think we're a little bit um more discerning, we're a little bit more intelligent. So that same kind of, ooh, I'm just gonna say a quick slogan and idiocracy level sort of chanting and call and response bullshit. I don't think that works really for the left. So I think if we're going to pick up um, some tactics that the right's using, I definitely agree with Ryan on the whole flood the zone thing. I think we should be getting in their face. I think we should be meaner. I think that's why I'm such a big fan of Destiny, because he's the literal only one out here digging in their ass. And so I absolutely
True.
think we need to have more of that energy, which is very right coded, but just for our purposes. Um, yeah, I mean, I see we have some folks coming up. Again, I'd love
Yeah.
to
Throw it over
expand the
to
question out to even beyond the AI or bot usage, just like what tactics from the right should we be picking up tactics from the right to use against them or to propel the left forward?
okay.
Try,
All
you want
right.
to weigh in?
Tribot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm tempted to steal man, but I think I'm just going to be honest, which is
for
ironic
it.
because I think ultimately lying is not a sustainable political strategy, and a lot of what the right does is lie. And I think we're kind of seeing it come to a head now where, Trump is ultimately his support is cratering because all of his lies are coming due.
True.
And, it can work for a little bit, right? It can work for a while, but Trump was sort of the last gasp of the old Republican Party, right? He is a significant break from the previous Republicans. And in some ways he's the break. In some ways he's well. That's the thing. He campaigned as a break from the traditional Republicans, but that was a lie. And he's just, because he's acting like just a traditional Republican, he's now losing support. And I think that's kind of where, that's the downside of those tactics is, yes, they can maybe work once or twice, but
Okay,
sort of,
I gotta call off some fucking disinformation. Harpo in fucking chat. Not just organizing people can talk. If you want to fucking speak, come
come on up.
Raise your hand, motherfucker.
Yeah.
All right, go back.
Say it to our face, bitch. Come
on. It just might take a second for the mods to find you. Yeah, it's not. It's a don't attribute to malice what can be attributed to stupidity.
That's a good answer for the prompt, honestly.
Right. I don't know. I think there are cases. I agree with Sophie that there's definitely stuff the right's doing that we should do, like being more aggressive, being willing to go on the attack. Like I think we tried. They go low, we go high, and I don't think it worked.
Right.
But in terms of like, should we do things that are against the terms of service of the platforms that we're using? No, because we're going to get banned. Should we take foreign money? No, because then we're susceptible to foreign influence, right? Like those are a lot of the shady things that the Republicans do to actively win, I think are things that will hurt us in the long run. So, and that are hurting them in the long run as well. So I think I don't think there's any reason to adopt them other than maybe the aggressive rhetoric.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree. So like,
go
I
to
go
Tetra. No,
yeah,
Tetra was here first.
Ulysses.
Or second, actually. Go ahead. No, Tetra. Tetrax.
Hello. So I'm the one who proposed the topic. To preface a bit, I'm not from the US, but I look at what's going on. I'm generally interested.
Yeah.
And this is something that I have kind of radicalized myself over the last few weeks by just researching and looking at it. And so in the last presidential election, the right did basically two things regarding online stuff for campaigning. First, they used massive clusters consisting of tens of thousands of AI-driven bots on Twitter posing as humans. And second, Elon Musk massively boosted the engagement metrics of right-wing accounts so that their tweets would appear more frequently on people's timelines. All of this is proven. There are sources for all of this. We know that now, we didn't know it back then. And so the Republican strategy, as of lately, has been to lie about everything and to amplify those lies through alternative media pundits and social media bots. This has not always been conscious. It's not everybody coordinating in like a secret conspiracy, but it is happening. That's also why it's so much worse now than it used to be in the past. This wasn't as effective of a strategy because this kind of signal boosting was missing. And also, you could argue that people had more decency back then. I doubt it, but you could argue that. I wouldn't even really fully blame the right for stepping over that line, because I think there's just incentives now that weren't there before. However, they will likely do this in every presidential election and maybe also midterms from now on. They will not stop on their own, and no one else can force them to stop because it's not economically feasible or technologically even possible. If the Democrats don't do the same, they will forever carry this disadvantage in perpetuity. When it comes to campaigning in the near future from now on, I believe that, specifically when it comes to campaigning, being the party of truth will always be a losing proposition, and I believe being the party of decency will always be a losing proposition. And of course, we can just say that Dems don't need to go hard in the midterms because they're winning with big margins anyway, but I think we should just assume that we're talking about a competitive election.
All right.
And so I proposed the topic to kind of just get generally, is there anything that should be sacred? Should the Dems use AI bots? Should they produce fake news? Should they stage assassination attempts on candidates to boost popularity or whatever? Where are the lines that people should agree on?
We really need a hand raise system. Is it okay if I talk retro?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's a good question, Tetrax. And I want to clarify that when you say stage assassination attempts, you mean pretend that one of our candidates was going to be assassinated and not try to kill other people. Yeah. But I think I don't know. I think anyone but Trump would have lost in 2016. And I think Trump won in 2016 by lying that he wasn't like the other Republicans, which, yes, he used bots to amplify that message, but like I don't think that was what swung it. I think people seeing him as like he beat out all the other Republicans in the primary, and he didn't have to lie to do that because he didn't have a record. And once he got into office, he had the mandate to break from the Republicans and do different things, and then he didn't, right? And I think he managed to sell in 2024 that the reason he didn't do all those different things back then was because he was held back by, like, he was still figuring it out, and he was held back by the deep state. And now we're seeing, oh, he wasn't held back by the deep state, he's just a normie Republican. But he's managed to. I think his power is not his AI boss. His power is his ability to spin himself as the victim. Right. His power is weaponized narcissism and victimhood and all that shit. And so I don't think I think in terms of the overall political climate, I think the bots definitely help push people apart and generally make people fight more. But I don't think it helped Trump win. I think Trump himself had skills and techniques that he used to win that were separate from the AI stuff.
Okay.
So are you basically saying that the entire AI social media stuff is not even an advantage and Trump won in spite of it, even though they hurt themselves on it, or that it is an advantage, but it won't matter if it isn't Trump?
I think it was an advantage, but I don't think he needed it. Let's put it that way.
Okay. I mean, maybe I don't really disagree. That might be the case. I don't really care about Trump in that regard or anybody specifically. But at least as of now, the trend currently is still that everything is moving more online. The online world is becoming even more important every day. Especially Republicans, especially the right, are very chronically online. And the technology is getting more and more sophisticated. I just think we shouldn't understate how big of an impact this will be if the right constantly participates in it and the left is not.
So there's, I think there's two approaches to the left's approach to it, right? One is to engage in it, and the other is to try and better control it, right? And I think because it's in the best interest of the platforms themselves to not be masked, like to not be a dead internet, to have real people talking about real things on there. Being on their side with that, like, if we want to talk to Facebook and be like, hey, you should have real people because real people are the ones with real money. And then, you need to be somewhere people want to go, right? I think that is an advantage for the Dems to get the platforms back on our side, because if we're spamming them with a million AI bots, they're not going to want to talk to us. They're going to be like, you fuckers are just the same as Republicans. You're just trying to kill our platform with a bunch of AI. You're just trying to use us. But if we're like, we want to work with you to get real people and real messages out, I think that's a winning message, both from a integrity perspective and from like an effectiveness strategy perspective.
Well,
Okay.
I think there's two
Good.
big
Yeah.
problems. Do you want to speak, Retro?
Yeah, I'd just like to progress this forward a little bit faster. Are we talking about like flooding the zone, like using AI tools like ChatGPT or whatever the fuck to like make it easier, so to make content easier and all that shit? So like someone wants to do content and like instead of learning all the skills, they use AI tools and shit like that? Or are we talking about like using AI bots to like fully automate and just send them off into their own like fucking merry little way to spread left-wing information, disinformation, whatever the fuck?
I'm talking about both.
Both? Okay.
Yes, recently I have a hard time constructing any real argument for anything in that regard to be sacred or to be not done on a moral basis.
Okay, I think that's like the one of sending out AI agents to like flood the zone with like left-wing disinformation or whatever the fuck. I feel like that's like the more contentious part. What are people's on this panel? Ulysses, like what's your take on that part of it?
Which part? Just to make sure I'm
Like using AI agents to like flood the zone with disinformation, like left-wing disinformation, to try to harm the right?
I mean, you can. Generally speaking, it's going to depend on like the candidate and like where you are. So like people like Derek Van Orden, probably because, well, actually, you don't even need to do Derek Van Orden because of the fact that that man has like there's so much stuff that you don't need the content from him. Like the content's already made for you. Whereas like maybe it's like other specific individuals that are like more contentiously in the race. So yeah, I don't have like necessarily too strong a position outside of like as long as there's no content there, you may as well generate some content. But if there's too much content for that person, you don't even need to create the AI at that point. It'd just be redundant.
Okay. How about you, Trib? What's your take?
I think from a, I think fighting dirty only works if there's no ref. And I think to a certain extent in elections, the American people serve as a ref. And especially on platforms, the platforms themselves serve as a ref. And I think, at a certain point, we're, we just undermine ourselves and we undermine our credibility, right? We need to establish credibility with the American people. We need to establish credibility with these platforms, and doing things that are against their terms of service or doing things that are dishonest, it makes us lose.
Okay. I guess like I disagree with like Tetratracks of like just using AI bots to like flood the zone with like left-wing disinformation and shit. I guess I don't really. I think the hard part for me though is like I don't see the right getting punished for doing that. And if anyone has like any kind of evidence or something they can pull up of like it is harming them, I guess.
I think that's harming them, and that it's like I think they're deluding themselves, right? I think they have a form of AI delusion
True.
where they think their supporters think one thing, but it's actually a crazy, ridiculous, side thing that's like fully online that the real people don't care about. So, I think it hasn't hurt them before, but I think as people are getting wise to it and as they're doing more shit, right? Like, at the end of the day, you can say you're going to do something on social media all you want, and then when you go and fucking bomb Iran, people are like, wait, you said all this shit, but now you're fucking bombing Iran, right? So what the fuck? And then they'll never fucking trust you again.
Okay.
So they can say everything they want, and they can, have as many AI chatbots spamming what they say they're going to do all they want. But at the end of the day, they fucking do things, and that's where they fall apart.
I mean, I guess what I got from what you said is like, and it might not be visible, like the harm that they are getting, but they're kind of like, how do I say, like drifting off from reality because they're in these like fucking schizo Facebook groups with fucking 60-year-old moms, just like getting blasted with AI content is probably not good for their fucking psyche.
Yeah,
That's more like Facebook.
That's my dig. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Tetratracks, on that?
I think you should get his name right. It's Tetrax.
Tetrax, sorry, I'm so sorry.
Tetratracks.
Tetratracks.
I'm sorry, okay? There's a lot of way of pronouncing names and shit, okay?
I think we might have lost him though.
Oh no.
He might be AFK.
Or
You are
he's
muted.
he's muted.
Maybe he's
Well,
muted.
If
And he
that's
thinks
the
he's talking
problem.
right now.
honestly, it sounds like his. I'm not going to speak for him, but it sounds
Oh,
like
he lost
his.
connection. Yeah, go for it, Sophie.
Sorry about that. Thanks. Okay, he's coming back.
You're fine.
But it sounds like his original argument is basically like this is why they won or why the right won, so we should do what helped them win. And I think that's just a incorrect premise to begin with. Even when we go back to like why we lost, we always go to, oh well, she didn't have enough time, and Kamala Harris, was it her laugh, and she wasn't a strong enough candidate or whatever the hell. And the reality is
Mhm.
just that, Trump hates the same people that more Americans hate. And that's kind of really it. So I think it's a little difficult to try to say, okay, well, they won because they had a stronger messaging platform when it came to, flooding the AI field with chat bots, or they won because they went on more podcasts than Kamala Harris did, or they won because, he was talking about the price of eggs, and, this motherfucker's racist. And he was up against the black woman, and clearly the majority of Americans from the electoral college down to the popular fucking vote are also just as racist as he is. So I think that's exactly where the
Well, how do you explain
differentiator is.
his significant progress with minority voters?
It's
'Cause that
still
was
white
a pretty big
supremacy. It's
concept of
still
his.
patriarchy. It's still
Okay.
all these things
I'm gonna throw
that
it.
are that
Yeah,
are
I'll throw it back
thrown in a
to
chair. So all,
Tetrax.
I'm only
Now that he's
saying
back.
I'm only saying this to say that if that is indeed why he won and not because of these, the 5% that he might have gotten from the chat bots or whatever the fuck, how can we as leftists like what can we do to employ that same tactic? Like if he won from hate, like what do we even do to emulate the winning strategy if the winning strategy was just racist?
Yeah, but yeah, now that Tetrax is back, throw it to him. But
Yeah, I feel like the kinds of voters that people are appealing to are not the kinds of people that would be swayed by this anyway.
okay,
I'm talking about using this specifically to combat Republicans within the heads of people that are already falling for this stuff.
okay,
So of course, for most people that are already voting Democrat, AI bots on Twitter won't do anything. Maybe they won't like it, but specifically to combat the appeal the right has on the people that are chronically online that are falling for this stuff, to discourage them from voting Republican.
okay. And then got a new
Because
person.
I think
Oh,
this
go
is
Yeah, keep
I
going.
think it's actually, I would go as far as to say this is
Oh,
the whole ecosystem around is not just about, but it's basically everything that keeps the Republican Party together, because their politicians are crazy and they are completely detached from reality. And this, what I'm talking about, I feel like online at least, is the base that are still loyal to them. And I think it's a growing segment, and I really see the Democrats struggle to win any election in the future if they don't maybe not adopt it, but find a way to compete with that.
okay. Yeah, I was gonna throw it over to Free, but I don't know if they want to give their take.
Well, Free, he's
I,
like
I,
the debate mod for DGG. So come back up, man. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Oh shit,
can I drop something?
feels
real quick?
bad. Yeah, go for it, Ulysses.
Boo.
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the things that we kind of have to focus on too is like the people that we're trying to appeal to are two different kind of folk. So like liberals, they're generally a lot more like they care about that rule of law a lot more. They care like Republicans are just a lot more shameless. So I would say like if you want to appeal to like the younger crowd, sure, but like for like Republican older crowd versus like Democrat older crowd, those people just like are like a way different kind of a caliber. And I'm talking out as like somebody who's like out of like a purple district, somebody who's like a lot more in tune with like folk that are like way older, generally people who are like DNC sort of like operatives. So like I personally I would love it if like they could be more like me or like us who are like willing to be a bit more cringe, a bit more like harsh, a bit more dramatic. But sadly, that's just not like the people that we can appeal to. Not to mention, like if we're gonna do like AI stuff, like the biggest criticism I generally have is like Facebook. Facebook is literally all just like AI slop. There's no differentiation on that platform of like what feels legitimate and what doesn't. So I think like if you want to do that, like if we want to like create AI slop, it's like cool. But at the same time, like once people feel so like absorbed into AI, it's like people like there's like this darkness pill of I don't know where the fuck I am because like I can't even tell what's real anymore because there's so much AI shit on my platform.
Yeah. All right, I'll throw it over to Stink. What's your take on this topic?
I mean, if I'm interpreting this as something like, well, the Dems should implement some sort of like AI botting on some sort of
Loud cat.
like platform people.
Yeah, your cat, dude.
Jesus
He likes
Fine,
to
you're
yell. Like the Dems should implement like either like misinformation or like botting on people that we think that will like divide the right or unite the left or something like that. And in either case, I think that like discussing it, and I said it a few times in chat already, or like coming to this as a conclusion after like a committee vote is like immediately like poisoning the entire point. Like, why would it be good for the Democratic and like National Committee to come out and say, yeah, we're gonna do what the right did, and we're gonna institute all these bots online in order to like spread information on various platforms. Like immediately they're just going to be dismissed, right? Like it's just going to like at like best muddy the waters, at worst it's just going to hurt Dems. This is just
So
like,
what about like
if you
individual
want to
private
do it,
citizens?
yeah, if you want to do it, go nuts, right? Like you shouldn't ever publicize it, and you shouldn't do anything to associate yourself with the DNC. That's like
the Steelman a little bit from like my understanding of it. I don't know if it's. I get what you're saying, and I fully agree. I think it's more along the lines of with how existential it is and shit. Should we? It seems like the left holds back so much of like using dirty tactics. Is it okay to like use dirty tactics? And this is just like an example to like run through the idea, I guess. That's where
I think in this case, the left is not just, it's not just literally the DNC and literally the Democratic Party. It's people who hold liberal or leftist beliefs. Should they individually not engage in these practices?
Well, I mean, like, you could extend this to something that's like more morally reprehensible, and I feel like the answer would be obvious, right? Like, should the left encourage like stochastic terrorism against like right wingers? Like,
but why would you go
existential
worse?
nature of that? Well, I'm just saying, like, if the scale of that is like more clearly over the line, and we say like, no, they probably shouldn't do that for like
Yeah,
a
but like,
variety
why would
of
you go worse
reasons.
for like questioning right now? I would go lesser and say like something like that Destiny does, like bullying people, would be like a better like grounds like fight on. Like how far do we go?
Exactly my
No,
point.
I think it's valuable to have. I think it's valuable to go worse because it's sort of it's exploring the premise, right? Like how if we're saying bots are on the line, why isn't starting to kill people on the line, right? Like, and I definitely think we shouldn't kill
I'm
people.
sorry.
You guys go further in. Okay, we're like questioning one part. Like one thing here, like
I'm
we don't know
saying
if
we
this is a
shouldn't
good
do it in
thing.
the stochastic terrorism case. We shouldn't do it if we like bring
right.
I don't think
We
that
should,
like the
yeah.
Destiny bullying people thing is along the same lines, right? Because I
Right.
think that like someone can safely like associate themselves with the DNC while also being like mean to right wingers, right? I don't think someone can safely associate themselves with the DNC while encouraging stochastic terrorism. I don't think they can safely associate themselves with the DNC while saying like I'm someone who spreads misinformation across thousands of different AI accounts on Twitter.
What are you talking about right
Like,
now?
I think
Like
that
there's a
person
whole
should be like excommunicated. We should
when
say
there's a
we
whole
don't
argument
have
with
anything to do with them.
there's a whole argument between Not So Erudite and fucking Connor in Destiny of his jokes that he made about the kids dying.
Okay.
You're saying right now that like, okay, we all agree that like bullying the other side is okay or something, but we don't. It seems like the left has this problem where we like want to hold ourselves to a different standard.
Yeah, no, what I'm like, is there anyone on the right who's openly saying like I'm running series of AI bots to spread misinformation in favor of right wingers?
No, that's why I'm going back to a place that we agree with and saying, okay, where on this line do we start to actually disagree and say like this isn't okay?
And I'm saying I don't even think they're on the same spectrum. That's why I'm saying I don't. That's the part that like you're associating it with a spectrum differently than what I am. Like,
what are your two different spectrums think?
Yeah.
Like the spectrum that I'm saying, like the damage done by like something like bullying isn't even like close to the damage done of like thousands of misinformation accounts being instituted across a platform. And to the point that it's like it's borderline a crime if it's not, and that's the way that it would be associated within the minds of like nearly every normie, right? Nearly every person we're trying to reach like politically. Like someone being mean,
that sounds more like a matter of degree than
like alienates like 50% of your party. Whereas if someone was like, if Destiny was running like a series of AI bots, like he'd be alienating like all the Republicans and probably like at least half the Democrats.
Okay, I guess the spectrum for me is like fighting dirty, and on this spectrum you have like making those sort of like very edgy fucking comments to like the other side to try to like make to what's the word? He like you want to increase your voter outcome and decrease the other side voter outcome and shit. And I think Destiny like like reminding them or making fun of them for like these retards like not using the goddamn grant money to make the fucking sirens, but instead they're like, well, if we do this, they're gonna turn all of our kids trans and shit. But we're getting a little bit off topic. I'll throw it back to Tetrax.
Well, I mean,
fuck.
maybe here's like a way to think of it, right? Like,
let's go.
Like Destiny is doing that in response to like all the shitty things that right wingers say all the time, right? And he does that in order to highlight like, hey, you guys do this stuff all the time, and even Trump does this stuff all the time, and you guys never call him out for it, right? But there is no equivalent person on the right that someone could emulate in the form of like running thousands of AI bots to spread misinformation, right? You couldn't do some justification like, well, look, there's the guy that does that. I'm just doing the same thing. Isn't it wrong, right? No, we know they exist, but we can't point to them directly, and we can't point to easy chains of causation of like, well, here is the person on the right who is associating themselves with the right, who is also running all these misinformation channels. That's the thing where it would like immediately break down why the Democrats should not ever endorse something like this, because we can't ever point it out clearly on the right.
Okay.
Maybe the question should be how hard should we work to stop it, rather than should we endorse it? Because I don't,
It's like a
there's only
policy
so much we can do about
right?
that.
It's not stoppable.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
with
Yeah, so
the
that's
two
part of my
cases
point.
out of the
It is
two,
Go for
really
it.
impossible to stop as of technological. Where the technology is now, it might change tomorrow. I don't know, but right now this is not possible to stop, and this is not possible to stop from getting worse.
well, I actually have an
Don't associate it with the
interesting
Dems. Yeah.
thought. Retro, do I have a second? I don't.
Have a second. What do you mean? I
Okay,
have
well,
all the
just
seconds.
thank
Go for
you. Well, I just wanted to say, like, I love you. I'm with you 1,000%. Like, I think the question is, if not AI bots in particular, like, what are the tactics that we can emulate from the right? I definitely think that Destiny style of just going hard, digging in, being the bully, but being the bully with like with a mirroring effect, like doing the Texas children drowning joke to shed light on their hypocrisy about, Pelosi's hammer beating and stuff like that. Like that's based. Like so I kind of feel like last week we had a debate in our debate nights about um cutting off men's dicks, right? And thanks, Ulysses.
Sophie, okay,
So,
go for it. Yeah,
but like
please connect this for us.
the whole point of us like going on this whole thing of trying to prove that male like mandatory male eunuchs would be better for
Mhm.
society. What, like there'd be less
You were
crime.
trying to prove that. This was a you project, not a DGG project.
Right. So I mean, this is my platform, all right? So like I'm all for forced vasectomies. I'm all for, cutting off the dicks, cutting off the balls. I want them all. And the reason is because like I think it throws into light just how ridiculous anti anti-abortion laws are, the women's bodily autonomy issues are, and things like that. So yes, we're being silly. I clearly obviously don't want all men to be, castrated, but going really hard and being like, "Yeah, give me the dicks. I want them all." Like I think as silly as it is, it sheds that light on how little control women have over their own bodies. And so I feel like if we take that same tack, like if that's the kind of misinformation we try to spew and or do things that are uh, you know, obviously like not silly, but just things that we're doing to shed the light on the hypocrisy, shed the light on just how unfair it is when it comes to like how trans people are ostracized, like so I feel like, if we as leftists advocated for shit like that, like, you know what, we want somebody at every bathroom door checking to see if you have a vagina or a penis before you can go in. Like doing the extra, taking the what is it,
So
the the absurdum and actually, advocating for that in
right,
order to
reductio
try
ad
to
absurdum.
exactly like doing the
So
reductio.
Sophie, do you think we should have like maybe not an established creator, but let's say there's some hypothetical leftist creator who's like, I am going to build a liberal bot farm, and I'm going to I'm going to document the process. I'm going to acknowledge that I'm doing it. I'm going to show you what happens and what it looks like and what the output looks like. Do you think that would be a net positive for us, or do you think that would just be like tarring the party?
Can I speak on that?
Yeah,
Sure.
Who's that directed to?
Tetrax, yeah.
Let's start with Tetrax.
Okay.
So I think I can use this to illustrate my point more clearly. If we think about the next 20, 25 years, And let's assume that things are kind of continuing as they are going now, so social media will still be very relevant. There are two possible versions of the future. One, Dems do nothing and let the bot problem and the whole social media, right-wing on social media problem get worse as it is and let it spiral. The other one is Dems do the same thing. They make every social media platform an absolute hellhole of AI content before every election, completely muddy the waters, so they don't just let the other side run wild. Those are the two possible futures, and I seriously believe that in only one of these cases the Dems are ever winning elections again in like 20 years.
I'll get some like pushback to that. Like, what about right now, where it seems like the Dems are on track to win by
Yeah,
a fucking
just gonna say I
landslide,
don't think
and they're
we're
not doing
gonna.
this?
It's possible for us to lose right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying hyperbolically, you have to, on policy and on people, be much, much better to win. I think the gap in actual political performance will need to be massive to win elections. And I think it's still kind of possible right now, but I think it's getting worse quickly.
So, I mean, to push back, like, I agree that we should be posting content to, these streams, but like, if you look at like what Mamdani is doing, he's not doing AI slop, right? He's doing engaging, interesting content that actually people like and people want to watch. And I think, as if the internet slowly dies, being the ones who are doing our best to, keep it alive and keep putting good, valuable things on there is a win for us rather than, trying to hasten its death.
Yeah, I mean, you can point to other kinds of voters than I am and say they would not be swayed by it or they would prefer if we did things differently. The people I'm talking about are like cattle on social media that are swung by the whole AI stuff. And I believe
I don't know if the people you're talking
the
about
cattle
exist.
voting blood is growing.
That's the question.
Yeah, and I think it will
Right?
be too big.
I don't think they're actually cattle. I think they're people who already believed. I think they already believed something, and so they engage with the things that tell them what they already believed. But I don't think they're being convinced by the AI slop. I think they believe the AI slop because it agrees with what they already agreed with. So that's my take on that.
Yeah, but if you throw as much counter messaging AI slop at their heads, do you not think that will do anything? Maybe not the committed ones, of course, but I think there's.
I mean, this my long term. Right. My long term position on like AI influence and brainwashing is that it's basically using. I mean, in some ways it's using a bazooka to kill a hamster, and in some ways it's just completely ineffective. I think because getting somebody to believe something they already want to believe is very easy, right? If you already believe that Dems are evil weirdos, then showing them a bunch of shit there's a very large bar for what it will take to continue to get them to agree with that, right? If you show them something that shows a Dem being a weirdo, they're just going to be like, "Yep, that matches my expectations." The actual problem there is getting that break, right? It's getting somebody to go from, I'm a normal ass person, I just live my life, and then or to, and then flipping from like, okay, now I believe that Democrats are lizard people, right? I think there's a lot of people who, already. I think there's a lot of people who already believe the Dems are lizard people that are going a little more crazy, or at the very least, they believe that the Dems were coming to trans your kids or whatever, and they went further down that way. But I don't think anyone went right. But I don't think anyone went from like, I'm a normal, reasonable person to I think Dems are lizard people. I don't think that's what AI is doing. I think what AI is doing is taking people who are already like, well, maybe Dems are lizard people, and going to, yes, Dems are definitely lizard people. And I don't know if those people were ever reachable, honestly.
All right, I'll throw it over to
I mean, I
Sneaky.
kind of disagree with that.
Sneaky, any other thoughts on this topic, or what
get
people
everyone
have been
in
saying?
I mean, like, I think I already said the thing, which is like, there's no point in debating whether you should use misinformation.
True.
If you're going to do it, like in the Tetrax, if this is really important to you, then appeal to people who actually have like the means to do it quietly and not associate themselves with Dems on this. Because Dems already catch shit for like not holding a proper primary, even though it was
Right.
physically impossible to happen, right?
And she was already
I don't think they're gonna
vice
win.
president.
Yeah,
Jesus.
like I don't think they're gonna win by saying, yeah, we're gonna go out there and spread misinformation, guys. Like I think they're gonna have like people on both sides saying, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that.
Yeah,
I
I'm not
I try
saying
to still
if
in.
people
Oh, go
should
ahead.
do it.
Okay,
I'm
go for it.
saying if it was something that was done, let's say like a magical hand, nobody knows who it is. If that just happened, would people be comfortable with it? Would people say yes, that's okay, or is that crossing a line and people should demonize it? That's more my
I would
my
say,
question,
yeah.
more than
I would say
who
the
should do
Dems
it.
should do everything possible to shut it down.
Yeah, normies are going to be really upset by this. They're not going to be happy.
I think you underestimate. I think you underestimate how powerful the backlash could be, Tetrax. Because I think you lose those reasonable. Like you might gain some of those Dems or lizards people, but you lose a lot of the. Dems are, the lesser of two evils, but they're still fine option, right? You'd lose people to the. You'd lose people to the both sides are the same camp, who usually end up being non-voters, right, or third party or Jill Stein or whatever the fuck, right?
Well,
So I
not
think
only
that is the
that,
risk there.
not only that, but you'd also lose people based on like AI itself right now isn't really that popular for voters. Whether we're talking about like AI databasing out here in like the Midwest, where you have a bunch of like massive databases, to even like people just on social media that are just sick and tired of seeing like AI misinformation like polluting their feed. Like unironically, I think the American people are like sick and tired of seeing like Donald Trump posting AI memes, because it's just like, okay, this is just fucking retarded at this point. There's no like this. Of course, this isn't all real, but so what is the actual fucking point of all of this? And I think this is something that we kind of as like a party should like look at. And I
Right.
go back to like what we are as a party.
Yeah.
We are, for better or for worse, the party of the fucking high ground. As much as I do like Michelle Obama's quote, "When they go low, we go high." But at the same, there is the confliction in me of like the catharsis of going to their fucking level. But
Yeah,
sadly,
when
like
they go
it
low,
can't
we need
just
to go to
be
hell.
it. Pretty much, or we're Christians. We need to like apparently chop off their dicks, according to Sophie. But no,
Yeah,
the
closing thoughts.
but
Go
the
for
thing that we should be focusing on in the party is like, if you really want us to go low, you need to convince the populace of Democrats also to go low. And sadly, that's just not something like even creators can do. Maybe the future generation of creators, if like we like hammer at it, but sadly, like we're at a crossroads where like still the people who don't effectively know how to work with technology are still alive.
All
So
right.
that's all I got as a closing argument. Yeah.
Closing thoughts to Tribot.
I don't know. I think I don't want to dogpile on Tetrax, so I'll give him the last word.
All right. Closing thoughts, Tetrax.
Yeah, it's totally fine. I don't feel dogpiled. I'm not even completely sure where I stand on the issue.
He's the dog, okay?
Just-
You got that dog in
As
him,
I
okay?
said, I don't find it. I'd find it hard to construct sound arguments against not doing it from a moral perspective. If you could prove to me that it's electorally not beneficial, then that of course we shouldn't do it, right? But just holding back on any kind of moral high ground, I think would be good if that was possible. But I think about the future, 10, 15, 20 years from now, I think the situation, the disparity, is that the word? Disparity?
Disparity.
The,
Yeah.
the gap
Yeah.
between what is happening on social media between the left and the right, if it widens as it is currently widening, that is not a situation that can keep existing 10 to 20 years from now, I think.
All right. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
And yeah, we'll be wrapping it up there.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sophie? What did you think of the last topic?
I mean, it's pretty good. I think again, if you expand it out beyond even the AI thing and just look at tactics in general, I like that, and I like where we went. Again, just my final thoughts on it are just that, I don't think it's that we need to be spreading misinformation. Somebody in the comments said we need to be spreading information, and I fully second that. Like, I think if we're gonna use the tactics of social media and even AI, if we're putting out not just corrections, not just to be on the defensive all the goddamn time, but if we actually put out, what we're trying to achieve or respond to people who say one word or give a certain keyword and then the AI bot gives the exact policy we're trying to do for that or whatever the fuck, sure, okay. But then also I think if we're going to uh, latch on to the idea of spreading misinformation, that misinformation should be more along the satirical bent, or more along like, okay, yeah, we actually really are pushing for, mandatory vasectomies for all men. That's our policy platform. Or yes, we actually do want, all kids to have, I don't know, like access to, um, who the fuck knows, like gender affirming care or whatever. Um, who knows? I think we should absolutely go hard on the satire as a way of, again, exposing that hypocrisy. But otherwise, yeah, I'm I think it's just a matter of also looking at what it is that actually won the presidency and the House and the Senate and the judiciary and all those things, and try to, be honest about that, and be honest about what it wasn't and what it was, and then I think we can start to apply the real tactics, to our party, focusing on the emotional nature of why and how people vote, as opposed to the more logical side of things. So, yeah, I think we ended in a really good place. What do you think?
Yeah. I'll get my closing thoughts, but I'll let Ulysses over here do a
Yeah,
shout out for the fun
go for it,
baking.
go for it. Yes.
No, he just got shot. No, Jack, bring him back. I'm so sorry. Ulysses, come back.
Union says if they don't want the snip, they'll need to meet us in the middle. Exactly. Yes.
Oh my God, that's base. I completely disagree with the policy, but yeah, that fucking meme of, well, what if we just meet in the middle, okay?
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, lovely. I'm back. All right. Mind if I do the shout out then?
Yeah, do the shut up.
All right, guys. So this is Digital Ground Game. We host debates and all that, but one of the things that I'm generally focusing on now is what Digital Ground Game is attempting to do, which is trying to get people to collectively join the movement of canvassing, phone banking, and actually putting the money where your mouth is and getting people out to vote in the midterms. So one of the things that we're doing is, in order to win the midterms, you have to excite the base. And the way to do that is to win all the special elections that we have been at that time. So if you are interested, we, as Digital Ground Game, are participating in a local phone bank upcoming for the April 7th special spring election for the Supreme Court of Wisconsin. If this rings any bells with some folks, you might be thinking, "Oh, this reminds me of like Susan Crawford." Yeah, this is exactly like Susan Crawford, where we were able to hold the Wisconsin Supreme Court and remove any attempt for them to gerrymander. Unironically, it's probably the main reason why Trump said we need to gerrymander, is because they lost 2 potential seats they could gerrymander in Wisconsin. So if you're really interested, please join the Digital Ground Game like Discord, and then look up there. You can either DM myself, DM anybody who's like knows anything about the matter. The phone banking is still going on, starting on the 6th and the 7th. There are 2-hour intervals from 10 to 12, 12 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6. And then there's a special one on election day where it goes from 6 to 8 on top of that. So yeah, if you guys are interested, please join Digital Ground Game. Please come out and support Wisconsinites. We need every single election that we can ever fucking win if we want to excite the base enough to come out and say, you know what? The Democrats, they might not be popular, but they sure as shit are getting elections done, and they know how to fucking do it. Texas, New Jersey, Virginia, we got them out of the, I think, Mississippi supermajority. Wisconsin has to be that next setup. And the reason I'm saying that is it's the only race that I can think of that is statewide in 2026 before the midterms. So please join us. We'd love to have you.
Damn.
That's all I got.
All right. Give my closing thoughts on it. Tetrax. I struggle to find something coherent of the downsides of doing the disinformation, of just like the cats and the dogs, and just like how they didn't get fucking punished for that shit, or just blatantly lying about fucking Alex Brady and fucking good the shooting, and just like, oh, these were assassins that were going out to kill people and shit. I think we're seeing downsides now. I don't know if that's just because they fucking ran the economy into shit by tariffing everyone, or if that is like it actually catching up with them with all the lies that they've been doing. In general, though, I do disagree with like using bot farms and like, let's just fucking make it worse. Who cares? Race to the bottom type shit. But that's where I try to like steel man a little bit and be like, okay, on this spectrum of like playing dirty, it seems like the Dems like hold ourselves way too fucking far of like, yeah, like Destiny getting fucking called out for bullying people on the internet by Not Erudite and fucking Cotter. But yeah, that's my take on the final topic.
How dare you
Fair?
yawn when it's 4 o'clock in the morning for me?
We need to help you on that fucking time zone. That 4 o'clock. Jesus Christ.
How dare
Listen,
you?
man, Brit bongers are a hell of a fucking thing. So
Oh my gosh.
All
No,
right.
but that
All
was
right, that's all
fun.
for tonight.
yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world, though. I will say, I used to have to collaborate with Australians, and those people get up at 2 a.m. our time. So
Oh
I entirely
gosh.
understand the grind.
True.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
for moderators where they want you throw you over at. Probably Jen Lobby would probably be the
Yeah,
best
come
spot.
join us at on DGG. You can get there by going to discord.gg/digital ground game, or you can go to digitalgroundgame.org and our Discord's there. Yeah, and so we have all sorts of yeah, thanks, Paul. Oh well. Yeah, we have all sorts of cool stuff there. So we'll head over to general chat there, and then you can also get a look at our different teams. So if you are not only interested in your regional squad, you can also get to work. We have a media team, a research team, a dev team. We have a new welcome team. We have moderators. We're trying to build out that team. I'm head mod, so if you're interested, come reach out. Otherwise, yeah. Retro, any closing words? Oh, go ahead and shut it down.
I don't know. It's all for me.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Pleasure.